Space Adventure Cobra: The Awakening is a new title from indie developer Magic Pockets. This 2D action platformer is heavily inspired from its source material, but can this indie title hit the mark? Hi, my name is Dove and I love indie video games. Today I want to talk about Space Adventure Cobra: The Awakening. Before I even get going, while this game is inspired by a cartoon series from the 80s, it does not require fans of that particular series to fully enjoy this one. But I'll get more in depth on that later. Without spoiling too much of the plot, you're essentially thrown into the life of Cobra, who is an intergalactic man of mystery. If you're not well acquainted with the series like myself, think some kind of cross between Austin Powers and James T. Kirk from the original series, although they might be going for a Han Solo type thing. You know, confident, headstrong, and has a proclivity to think with his junk. After your character hits the old reset button, so to speak, he eventually is off to save a few triplet supermodels and maybe just find a mysterious galactic treasure. This is honestly where the game shines. Yes, the plotline is ripped out of a 1980s sci-fi cartoon series, but the game is absolutely dedicated to the source material. That, along with the fact that the game makes you actually feel like you're playing through episodes from the series, is something I truly haven't experienced in gaming. I've enjoyed games that have episodic releases, but nothing that made me literally feel like I was in an episode of a series. This title constantly dips between the platforming and cinematic sequences, and to this gamer, it never felt annoying. It always just felt like a reward for finishing an area. And the way that they make it feel so authentic to each episode makes playing through the levels a lot of fun. Even if some of the actual platforming designs can feel a bit repetitive at times, the game is so immersive that you barely even notice. The way the game goes back and forth with the cinematics and gameplay is something I really hope other games start to adopt if they're going to try and make a game from an established IP like this. Honestly, I could see a lot of really good old cartoons getting brought back to life in this manner. From Star Trek the Animated Series to the X-Men cartoons, I think there's a lot of potential in this style of presentation. Now, the one area I think is a spot of contention for people reviewing this one are the controls. While I admit they can be frustrating in certain areas, overall they get the job done. And it just requires a sort of finger yoga that not everyone's going to be interested in. The main issue being the aiming is the same stick you use for movement. And it sounds even less appealing as you might think. There is the ability to hold down a button and force your character to stop and allow you to free aim, but there are a lot of instances where even the auto-aim feature, it just feels difficult to hit objects that are coming at you at higher angles. And when you're running through areas with constant barrage of enemies, that can be kind of tricky. I definitely think the controls are workable though, especially given the abundance of generous checkpoints the game throws your way. But in addition to that, very early on, you're equipped with the Psycho Gun, which is an absolutely ass-kicking, overpowering weapon that you can lean on to mitigate any of these issues. The first level of the gun allows you to hit the button, slow down time, and guide your shot as you tag as many enemies as possible in that window. Something akin to the effect in Red Dead Redemption. The refresh rate on the gun is also very generous, so you won't have to wait long to recharge. Thus, you'll be able to clear a lot of screens leaning on that Psycho Gun. The gun also has a second level effect where you pretty much can clear the entire screen. So while you will have to do some fine aiming here and there, in the heat of battle, these meters fill up very quickly. And outside of having to get used to that aiming, the combat's a lot of fun. The controls have a little bit of looseness to them. I've seen some reviews say the controls can be a bit janky, but the game just takes into account inertia and has a little bit more of a floaty feel to it. If you enjoy that more slippery feel like Sonic the Hedgehog, these controls will be in your wheelhouse. The art style and design of the levels, soundtrack, and sound effects all come together in a harmonious way to nail down that feeling of playing in an actual episode from your Saturday morning cartoon past. It gets all the little things right, frankly, from the style of frames used in the platforming that almost perfectly mirror the cartoon series to the funk-style background music. This game absolutely just hits the atmosphere out of the park. The level designs kept things flowing and rarely if ever left me wondering where I needed to go. However, secret and enemy locations can feel a bit repetitive by the end of the game. It didn't detract from the immersion though, just kept things kind of vanilla. Sure, 75% of the boss battles were against drones, but their varied attack patterns and presentations gave the game enough charisma to keep me coming back for more. As I mentioned before, the game is pretty generous with its checkpoints. The one major exception to that would be the boss fights though. If you're just speeding along some of the levels and don't actually figure out the mechanics the game wants you to perfect, some of those boss battles can actually feel like a bit of a skill check. But honestly, once you find the right combination of dodges and which weapon they want you to use, most of the boss battles can be finished in under 90 seconds. At the end of the day, nothing beats that villain banter though.
Out! Move away!
You're not going to shoot me while I'm inside your friend, are you?
Space Adventure Cobra ran smoothly. Any frame rate dips were few and far between, and loading times between cinematic and gameplay, or vice versa, were near seamless. Tech-wise, the only real issues were the lack of accessibility options. And I'm mainly just talking about sensitivity settings for analog sticks or aiming. I honestly believe that including sensitivity settings might negate some of the negative comments or even reviews on Steam for this one. Giving players the ability to fine-tune controls can make a world of difference. After the opening level in Space Adventure Cobra, your character will have to earn all of his power-ups as he progresses through the story. During the first playthrough, you'll notice a number of areas that seem impossible to get to. Most of these areas will require you to unlock an ability later on in the game in order to grab them. So while not a Metroidvania in any regard, the game does encourage you to go back and replay parts if you want to beef up your character's stats. You also get timed and graded at the end of each level, so that gives perfectionists even more reason to replay this one. It's a nice feature to have, and Space Adventure Cobra: The Awakening allows gamers who really enjoy the game the ability to go back and get more enjoyment out of the title. But for those who are just trying to finish the game, they don't necessarily have to go back and redo all those levels. Now, for those looking to just power through this one, completion times range from 10 to 15 hours, so this one's not much of a commitment. And I gotta be honest with you, it doesn't linger too long. While some of the level designs and enemy attacks can feel a bit repetitive at times, the pace at which you get upgrades shines new light into those designs. And with the consistent artwork changing in the background, including one of the more enjoyable underwater levels I've played this year, I never felt like the game outstayed its welcome. Overall, I enjoyed Space Adventure Cobra: The Awakening and recommend it for certain types of gamers. I don't think this title is going to be for everyone. If you need that stop on a dime kind of control in your platformers, or an extremely intuitive control scheme, then maybe try out the demo before committing. But if you miss those old 70s through 90s style of cartoons, then I think this is going to hit the nostalgia note right out of the park. Even if you've never seen the series outside of the game, the feel of the levels, the soundtrack, the plots are all reminiscent of those cartoons from long ago. Or if you just want to experience a remarkably fun action platformer with a unique presentation, Space Adventure Cobra: The Awakening is a title you'll want to try. Currently available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, the Switch, and PC.
Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button. And subscribing goes a long way towards bringing you more content like this. We also have a weekly news podcast called the Indie Radar, where we focus on indie news and upcoming titles. Thanks again for watching from all of us here at The Gamer Buff.